from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The College Sports Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in college sports.
Could another playoff blowout be loading in the Rose Bowl?
You are Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Oregon Ducks.
I feel as if this game is destined to once again come down to the wire. On the one hand, there are two parts of me. There's the college football fan in me, and there's the Oregon fan in me. The college football fan is sitting there, popcorn ready. I mean, I've got some in the pantry. I might pop it during the game. Yeah, that's great. The Oregon fan in me, can we just get a repeat of Florida State 2015? Because that was a great day. 59-20. 34 points off turnovers. That was a fun day. I don't see that happening here for two reasons. Number one, both of these teams are incredibly talented. You do not have one roster that is measurably better than the other. You don't even have a position group matchup that I feel like one team can dominate throughout the course of the game to the point where they're able to just overwhelm the opponent. For example, when Oregon played Oregon State earlier this year, the offensive line completely and utterly dominated Oregon State. The first half was close, the second half was not. And then you saw Oregon run the ball to the tune of 7.5 yards a carry, and Dylan Gabriel had all day to throw. That was a matchup that Oregon State was not going to be able to overcome or make up for elsewhere. There aren't any of those sorts of matchups in this sort of game. When you talk about weaknesses for Oregon or weaknesses for Ohio State, you're talking about relative weaknesses. And I'm going to talk about one of Oregon's weaknesses later on today's show. But you're not talking about this unit has been dreadful or this player hasn't been good. You're talking about guys who are expected to perform at a 10 and are maybe only performing at an 8. So if another 9 or an 8 in their matchup in the game comes out, well, maybe there's a bit of an advantage there. But the way that this game played out the first time is how I fully expect this game to play out the second time. And I went back and did some digging. Oregon was actually a 9-point favorite against Florida State in that Rose Bowl in 2015, the 2014 season, of course, in the college football playoff semifinal, which I actually didn't know until I was doing my prep for today's show. And that's a much bigger number than I thought. Ohio State is favored by 2.5 points. I'm not surprised by that at all. It doesn't surprise me. Number one, Vegas favored Ohio State at Autzen Stadium the first time they played. Number two, Ohio State just walloped Tennessee 42-17, and it didn't even feel like it was that close. It was 21-0 before Tennessee could even figure out what in the heck was going on in Columbus in that game. And the third reason is Ohio State's a really good team. And what I think both of these teams have shown throughout the year is that their ceilings are national championship level. Their floors are losing to a team they shouldn't. Now, Oregon hasn't hit that floor yet. Ohio State did against Michigan. But everything about this matchup tells me these teams are going to play a close game. And the other reason as well is I have had a high level of confidence, after some early struggles, to be sure, in Dylan Gabriel and the Oregon passing attack. They have rewarded that confidence throughout the course of the season. Then you look at Will Howard on the other side and the way they just played against Tennessee, who I have said for quite a while on Locked On College Football, a defense I believed in, that I do think is good, and Ohio State was just better. When you have quarterbacks and good receivers, that can be a blanket for any other sort of problem that you might be having. Clemson, for instance, top to bottom, I don't think has quite as good of a roster as Texas. But why was Clemson able to hang around? I know they lost by 14 points, but there was a goal line stand, or else that was a one-possession game with about 5 minutes to go. Why were they able to do that? Because Cade Klubnik was just throwing it all over the yard. So one thing I've also been thinking about going into this game is I expect it to be tight. I expect every cliche you can think of in a close game to come to fruition. Something like turnovers, third down, special teams, execution, momentum swing, all of those sorts of things. Tomorrow I'll have a crossover with Jay Stevens of Locked On Buckeyes, and we'll discuss, the specific matchups, what to go back to, adjustments, and all of those things. But at the end of the day, to me, this feels like a heavyweight bout where the team that executes better, maybe the team that starts stronger in the first quarter, Ohio State's feeling good, Oregon's more rested, rest versus rust, all of those things in the first quarter. That's where I get the sense this game is going to be decided. Just a gut feeling. Plus, it's the Rose Bowl. Oregon had that blowout in 2015, but every other Rose Bowl game, Ohio State in the 2009 season, 9-point game. Wisconsin 2020, 1-point game. Wisconsin 2012, 3-point game. Typically, Oregon gets to the Rose Bowl and plays a close game. But the other thing, going back to the Florida State point, which I know Oregon fan, I would love to have the power to just speak that into existence. I would love for there to be no stress at the end of this game, knowing that Oregon's going to win. I think it's going to feel a lot like last time. It'll come down to a play, a stop, a drive, a kick, a something, because that's just where I feel like these two teams are at. Oregon hasn't lost yet. I think that that's an advantage for them mentally, saying, hey, we're the Kings, we're the Big Ten champions. You come and you're trying to knock us off the throne because they're number one at the top of college football right now. Ohio State's out for revenge. Those are, I think, a couple of incredibly motivating elements for both coaching staffs to use in this particular game. So I expect it to be close. I expect it to be tight. I expect it to be fun. And by the way, if you're into tradition, lore, and all those superstitions and whatnot, I'm incredibly superstitious. There have been 2 instances in which the number 1 seed in the college football playoff has played at the Rose Bowl. The number 1 seed is 2-0. Last year, Michigan beat Alabama 27-20 in overtime. 2020, Alabama beat Notre Dame 31-14. Both those teams went on to win the national championship. You make of that whatever you like. You can take that for nothing. You can take that for something. I couldn't care less. I'm just sharing information here for those who care about the wonders and mystique of the college football world. But also remember, Michigan won that game, went on to win the national championship. They were a 4th and 2 failed conversion away from never getting to the title game at all. On that game-tying drive to send the game to overtime, Michigan needed a 4th and 2 conversion. And by the way, special teams, pretty important in that game. I believe both teams missed field goals in that one, or else maybe you never get to overtime. Those are the sorts of things that are going to define this game. I know Oregon would like to win by a comfortable 10 to 20 points. Something tells me it's going to be decided by less than a touchdown.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $500, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, do live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And you can go ahead and take a look at the second round of the college football playoff. Despite having already beaten Ohio State, Oregon are 2.5-point underdogs against the Buckeyes in the Rose Bowl. Penn State heads into the Fiesta Bowl favored by 10.5 points over Heisman runner-up Ashton Jeanty and the Boise State Broncos. Both teams are a combined 10-0 in the Fiesta. Despite the larger line, this should be a good one. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs.
Early in the week, we talked about some big picture things, or late last week, I should say. We talked about big picture things, some general narratives, some of which we said you should pay attention to, some of which we said you should completely ignore. I will say, in terms of the nitty gritty of the football play, I haven't really changed my tune from about a week and a half ago, what feels like 6 months ago, when we first started talking about this matchup against Notre Dame. And I said very candidly that I did not want to play Notre Dame. I am scared of Notre Dame. I don't like this matchup against Notre Dame because the thing that Notre Dame does really well, which is play good defense, particularly against the run, and offer a physicality in running the football themselves.
That's right.
Is something that Georgia has really struggled with this year. Texas and Notre Dame are very different football teams. Georgia has played really well against a really good team. We like to hang our hat on that. Very different style, very different type of football team to Notre Dame. I think about Notre Dame, and it's much more of a physical, hit you in the face, and try to dominate time of possession, line of scrimmage. And Georgia's defense has struggled against offenses like that this year. And Notre Dame is the best of all of those offenses that Georgia will have played this year. And so I think going into this matchup with Riley Leonard at quarterback, with Love and whatever that other guy's name is at running back, both those guys really good. I think if you're a Georgia fan, you can't help but be nervous going into this matchup. And then on the other side, Clint, Notre Dame likes to take away the run, and they do that very well. It's not like Georgia's a running football team, right?
No.
They're 13th in the SEC in rushing per game. But with Gunnar Stockton at the helm, the fear is that Georgia might need to lean on the run a little bit more. And so that worries me as a Georgia fan. And so going into this game, like I can't help but be anxious about this matchup for Georgia. How are you feeling from a football standpoint heading into the Sugar Bowl?
I'm going to give you three things that excite me now that I've sat on it more. This was,
by the way, excited, nervous, don't sleep on us tomorrow. He's giving you bonus content.
I'm giving you bonus content. I'm letting you know what I'm looking forward to. It's just like before the SEC game. The more that I came upon the SEC kickoff time, the more I felt great about Georgia's chances in that game, because I just looked at footballing. I didn't mess with all the other noise going around. Now, a lot has been made. Exactly what you pointed out. What you said is true. And the three things that national media types, who are morons, by the way, you shouldn't listen to them for anything because they don't know the teams. They just know, oh, Notre Dame's a blue chip, quote unquote, blue blood, and they're good. So they'll win. And I just saw them play last week. And so my eyes tell me they're good. So they're going to win because Georgia's crap. Oh, and Georgia has
no quarterback.
No quarterback.
No quarterback.
Because these are things. What you just said is absolutely true, Daniel. Price, Love, Leonard, the three-headed running attack in the backfield for Notre Dame is very good. Get to the second level. I don't know if we have anybody in the secondary. Malachi Starks might be fast enough. Julian Humphreys might be fast enough to track some fools down. That might be true. But Love and Price can just turn on the jets.
You better keep them contained early. You better not let them get shoulder to shoulder. If they're even, they're
gone. Okay.
Yeah.
Dan Jackson needs you to shore up that tackle in the alley. You're going to be fine, Dan. You're going to be fine. Just keep on being you, brother. Just do what you've done all year long and we're going to be fine. Okay. So the thing that national narrative talks about, Gunnar Stockton, and here's what just a feel of the game. We have alphas in this locker room for Georgia. Dudes that don't follow anybody else but themselves, and Kirby Smart. They couldn't be coached by anybody else because they don't respect anybody else. Gunnar comes in, and Gunnar has this locker. You hear post-interview stuff all the time, or post-practice interviews from these people all the time, these players. And they are saying, Gunnar is the real deal. Gunnar knows what he's doing. He's for real. The juice, as I said, when he came in and instantly brought an electric spark to the team. Not a surgical spark, but an absolute, I'm going to just take this team, put it on my shoulders, and I'm going to give a vibe that nobody else can replicate. That's what Gunnar brings. And so if you look what he was coming out of high school, everybody forgot, Daniel, what this kid was like coming out of high school, apparently. Yeah. Like, he can't throw. Oh, really? Go look at records that he just brought down, hucking the ball, deep shots. Go look at, again, I don't put anything into reports of people except when I hear it validated from coaches. And I've heard a couple of rumblings of the defense getting beat on a couple of deep passes that Gunner's been putting on them in the backfield. Okay.
Whoopsie.
Thing number one, Gunner is a dude. Like, I don't know. I'm not guaranteeing his performance is going to be MVP worthy, but what I'm telling you is that I don't anticipate a drop off. That's thing one. Thing two, heard a lot of people talking about Notre Dame off to fast starts in their games.
Sure.
Lots of points early on. Georgia, notably, not
the same?
No, Daniel.
No, not the same. Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
Nope.
I'll sit this one out.
The opposite actually is what happens.
Sure.
Thing two that I'm feeling about this game. I went back and I looked. People were talking about this. So I looked, the 5 games of note for Notre Dame, the one loss to Northern Illinois, which we've said is a different team now. But Northern Illinois got 10 points in the first half, 7 for Notre Dame. Texas A&M was tied 6-6. Louisville, 14-24. That was a weird game. Notre Dame against Georgia Tech, 14-7. And USC, Notre Dame, 14-14 going into the half.
Oh,
Daniel,
fast starts.
That's not their fast starts came against, now wait for it, inferior opponents on a weak schedule.
Well, that's funny.
Yes. Of course, when you have a good running game and you come out of the gates strong, you should
and
be
you're
able to
playing
do
a
that.
service academy.
Guys, I like the match. Once I actually dug into it, once I heard all the national media idiots talk about it, and then I was like, oh, let me take some things. I start looking into it. I go, huh. So you're telling me they were even or a little bit ahead going into half, and Georgia has been even or behind most of the year at half, and it hasn't phased us at all. Notre Dame needs to have a 21-point lead at half if it wants to have a shot in this game. Okay?
I agree.
They need to have a 21. If they don't, we go into half anywhere within a one-score game, I'm feeling mighty fine.
Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more near you. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
Cam Scanaboo is the workhorse ASU needs to win football games.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We got to start with Sam Leavitt, though. This is the key to winning football games. Here's a crazy concept for you. You're only as good as your quarterback is. Mind-blowing stuff, right? That's the key to this game. ASU playing Texas. Real quick, horns down for you guys. Also, y'all snitched on me to Jonathan Davis from Locked On Longhorns. But don't worry, tomorrow is a crossover episode with Jonathan. We have a great conversation. I'm really looking forward to you guys checking that one out, whether you're Sun Devil fans or Longhorn fans. So turn on notifications to get that update. Anyways, speaking of Longhorns, Sam Leavitt in the press conference last night, or it might have been Friday night, was talking about going up against Quinn Ewers. And he said in particular, something along the lines, paraphrasing here, he is looking forward to being the best quarterback on the field, proving he is better than Quinn Ewers. Sam Leavitt, very confident quarterback. He's not been shy this year about talking about the work he puts in and how much he has been working with coaches and working with his teammates and studying in the film room and everything like that. He's very vocal about the work he puts in, and it shows on the field. He backs it up. One thing we haven't really seen from him this year, and let me know if I'm wrong in the comments, we haven't really seen him call out individuals and say, I'm going to be better than them. We have heard Sam Leavitt say this year, I'm the best quarterback in the country. And real quick, that's the way I want my quarterback to talk. Why would I not want my quarterback to say I'm the best in the country? I would want that even if it was, I don't know, just like Jeff Sims or Trenton Bourguet or one of our backups. Like, I would want them to say, I'm the best quarterback in the country, because that confidence is what wins you football games. You don't play with confidence, you're not going to win. Sam Levitt has that confidence. But to flat out challenge himself against Quinn Ewers was not something I was expecting. And again, if I'm wrong, let me know. But I don't think we have seen Sam Levitt individually call someone out and say, yeah, I'm going to prove I'm better than them. And again, I love that mentality, but it just wasn't what I was expecting. And if you think that Texas didn't use that as billboard material, you're wrong. Colin Simmons, the star freshman edge rusher, who I talked about in detail on yesterday's show, so check that one out if you did not see that one, because Colin Simmons will be the reason ASU loses if they don't find a way to stop him. He had reposted it to his Instagram, essentially like, bet, we'll see. We'll see if you're better than Quinn. And Quinn's not the guy to talk to the media or anything, but you know he heard it, and you know that's going to be in the back of his mind. Quinn Ewers is a very good quarterback too, by the way. Very, very good quarterback. It's quite the challenge for Sam. But let's take that all out of the equation now that we have addressed that. Here's why Sam Levitt is the big X factor here. The biggest X factor. Of the 5 X factors we're going to talk about, Sam Levitt is at the top of the list. Here's why. He's your starting quarterback. He has played very, very good football over the last month and a half. 16 touchdowns, 1 interception over the course of 5 games. 5-0 in those games, including BYU, K-State, and Iowa State in the Big 12 championship. He's played the best of the best competition in the conference. He has shut them down. He has been nothing short of outstanding. I've said before, and I will continue to double down on this. You can't name 10 quarterbacks in the nation that are playing better football than Sam Levitt is right now. He's on another level. He's got a chance to prove that I'm not just on a hot streak, right? I am flat out one of the best quarterbacks in the country. This is your chance to prove it, because Texas, pound for pound, has one of the best secondaries in football. I have not been shy about singing praises of Jahdae Barron, who just won the Jim Thorpe Award as the best defensive back in the nation. They've got several other guys as well back there that are terrific football players. And you're going to be playing without Jordan Tyson. This is a huge, huge challenge for Sam Levitt to overcome. And he's going to need to be elite in this game to win. Like, I'm talking no turnovers, but he's got to score touchdowns. Like, if Sam Levitt goes, let's say, 15 of 21 for 180 yards, no touchdowns, no turnovers, that's not enough. Even the no turnovers part, that's not enough. He's got to be perfect without the turnovers, but he's got to be one of the primary scorers for the Sun Devils to win this game. It's time to prove you're an elite quarterback, like I am saying, like others are saying, like you, Sam Levitt, are saying. You got to take that next step. And quite frankly, ASU is just not going to advance in this game or in future games without Sam Levitt being able to take that next step. And Sam, not just the smack talk, he is also just flat out really excited about this matchup. He's been very vocal about this is a great opportunity for us and all that good stuff. He's excited and he's ready to prove himself. Last thing I want to mention in terms of Sam Levitt. Cam Skattebo, the people's running back, as we call him here on Locked On Sun Devils. He can run it, he can catch it, he can pass it, he can punt it, and he's your mom's favorite player. Texas is going to key in on him. Here's the good news. Texas elite passing defense, quality run defense. They're not horrible, they're not elite. Sounds like Skattebo can run on them. But as I have been told and as I would expect, Texas is going to key in on Cam Skattebo. We've heard that all year long. Let's see if it works. But let's say they do. Let's say this is the one team that actually basically eliminates Cam Skattebo from the equation. Okay? Sam Levitt, it's up to you. It's up to you, because if Skattebo is truly erased from this game, then Levitt's your only option for scoring points. That's why he's the biggest X factor. Here's another X factor on offense. the offensive line. You are going up against one of, if not the best pass rushes in college football. Colin Simmons scares the bejesus out of me. I said that on the previous episode. Again, check that out if you haven't. But I flat out will tell you that's probably the best freshman in the nation. Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State, that's the only guy who pushes him, in my opinion. This is a good freshman class, too. That's how high I view Colin Simmons. And he's played up to it. He leads them in sacks, but they got plenty of other guys as well that can generate some pressure. ASU needs to find a way to control the line of scrimmage, and not just for Cam Scadaboo's sake, but especially for the passing game. Like, again, this pass rush with Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill Jr. and the defensive tackles and everything like that. If Sam Leavitt's going to have the game that we need him to have and the one that he believes he's going to have, then he's got to be able to stay upright. ASU's offensive line, I have been very critical about them this year. And I've taken a step back and I've gone, maybe I was a little too harsh. They haven't given up a lot of sacks, but there is pressure that they allow. And Texas is one of those teams that they're going to turn pressure in the sacks. So they have got to be able to play at the highest level of competition. Because this Texas defense, which has 40 sacks on the year, I think 41, I have it here so I can just pull it up. They're arguably the best of the best, man. You're not gonna 41 sacks. Yep. Okay. You're not going to find many teams in the country that are going to challenge your offensive line the way that these guys will. And you haven't seen a team this year that is going to challenge your offensive line the way that Texas is going to challenge your offensive line. You have got to be at your best. Sam Leavitt, he's going to be your best chance to win this game, especially if Scadaboo is taken out of it. But if you can't keep him upright, you're not going to have the passing game. It's gone, because you can't. You literally cannot give your quarterback the opportunity to throw the football. You're going to shrink your offense so significantly that now it does become easy to key in on Cam Scadaboo. Because even if Scadaboo's not getting the ball, well, Colin Simmons is just going to get a sack. Like, offensive line, massive key to success here. One of the biggest X factors, and just maintaining the ability to control the line of scrimmage. And again, it's also really important for running the football. They have been challenged this year. Teams have stacked the box and they said, we're going to stop Cam Scadaboo. And there's been times where the offensive line has struggled, and there's been times where the offensive line has stepped up. Here's another chance to step up. I put more priority on keeping Sam Leavitt upright, but you've still got to be able to create those lanes for Cam Scadaboo. Offensive line, super important here. One of the biggest X factors. I would put them slightly below Sam Leavitt.